For decades, it's been the invisible shield, the thing that's supposed to be keeping the world from total catastrophe. But what if I told you that the entire idea we've bet our survival on is built on a massive misunderstanding of how people actually think? Let's dig in.
All right, so to get our heads around this huge globe-spanning concept of deterrence, we actually need to start really small. Think of it as the cookie jar theory.
At its absolute heart, the definition is almost shockingly simple. We're going to be diving into the work of political scientist Patrick Morgan today, and he basically says deterrence is just using the threat of a bad outcome to stop someone from doing something you don't want them to do. That's it. Sounds easy, right?
I mean, we all use this stuff in our daily lives. The threat of a timeout, it keeps a little hand out of the cookie jar. A loud no stops the dog from tearing up another shoe. As our source material points out, it's the tactic we turn to when we figure, just asking nicely probably isn't going to cut it.
And this is where the stakes just explode. We've taken this basic, almost primitive tactic, and we've made it the absolute bedrock of our nuclear age world. All of a sudden, that cookie jar is a sovereign country, and the timeout, well, it's global thermonuclear war. So how in the world did the theorists who came up with this system think it would actually hold up under that kind of pressure? Well, it all hinges on one single, powerful, and, as you'll see, maybe a wildly optimistic assumption about how world leaders make decisions.
And here it is, the core of the whole thing, perfectly put by Patrick Morgan. He finds it just bizarre that in an age that had just shown the whole world the depths of human irrationality, the big theory to stop our most violent urges was built on a model of perfect, rational calculation.
This rational actor theory literally pictures a world leader as some kind of supercomputer. Before they make a move, they'd feed in all the data, coldly calculate the potential gains versus the potential losses, and would only act if the benefits clearly came out on top. No emotion, no ego, just math.
So this brings us to this huge clash at the heart of deterrence theory. We've got this really sophisticated, almost elegant model of perfect rationality, but we're applying it to what Morgan calls a primitive tactic, a threat. So how does that fancy theory really hold up in the messy real world?
Let's just break it down, side by side. The ideal actor on the left, they have all the facts, they make the perfect choice every time. But the real-world leader on the right? Man, they're working with foggy intelligence, they're under unbelievable stress, and they're driven by ego and anger and fear. They're, human. And we humans are famously bad at math under pressure.
And right here is the paradox, laid out for all to see. If we use threats because we assume our opponents are unreasonable, why does our entire strategy depend on them behaving with superhuman logic at the most stressful moment of their lives? It doesn't really add up, does it? Okay, this is where Morgan's work gets really brilliant. He suggests a complete shift in how we look at this. He says we have been focused on the wrong thing all along. It's not about being rational, it's about being sensible. And that one word changes everything. The goal, Morgan argues, is not to make your opponent into a perfect calculator. The real point of a threat is to force them to be sensible, to just stop, take a breath, and realize how much they don't know about what happens next. So what does sensible look like when you're a world leader? It's really a three-step dance. First, you have to admit you don't have all the answers. Second, because of that, you avoid making giant, world-changing moves you can't take back. And third, your number one job becomes just trying to avoid a catastrophic screw-up. And this just nails it. A deterrent threat works when it floods the whole situation with so much risk and uncertainty that a leader's natural caution takes over. The threat creates a healthy fear of the unknown, making a huge gamble, like starting a war, seem, well, completely unsensible. But, and this is a huge but, if deterrence only works by making leaders cautious, this new way of thinking also shines a big, bright light on exactly how it can all fall apart. The foundation has cracks, and they run deep.
So here are all the ways it can fail. Instead of making someone cautious, a threat could just make them panic, like a cornered animal. Or maybe you're up against a leader who just isn't a sensible person. They're a gambler, a high-risk taker. Or a crisis gets so bad that even a normally cautious leader feels like they have no choice but to take a massive risk. And maybe the scariest one of all. A series of small, sensible little steps can accidentally walk two countries right up to the edge of a cliff they never even saw coming.
So what does all this mean for the one strategy we've relied on for generations? The conclusion is, to be blunt, incredibly unsettling. It frames our entire modern security system as one giant high-stakes scammer. And the source for our whole explainer today has been Patrick M. Morgan's incredible deep dive into this very concept. And honestly, his analysis forces us to confront some really uncomfortable truths.
After World War II, facing the terrifying new reality of the bomb, the world had to find a way to stop another global war. And as the source says, we picked deterrence as our next best bet. But Morgan's final verdict is brutal. While it might have seemed necessary, it was, in fact, a bad bet from the get-go.
This might be the most powerful metaphor in the entire book. The idea of building bigger and bigger armies to stop war, it's like trying to cure a hangover with another shot of whiskey. It might feel like it's working for a little while, but in the long run, it's a fundamentally flawed and dangerous way to solve the problem.
And that leaves us with this final, haunting question. We have managed to keep this delicate balance, this bet on sensible behavior, going for decades. But the system, as we've seen, is full of flaws. It can fail. And if our only plan for peace relies on a strategy that isn't guaranteed to work forever, what happens on the day our luck finally runs out?